Hey folks, Evil DM here. I'm back with another episode of Let's Talk DC Heroes. It's been a while since I did an episode for this, but I like to pick up things as I am excited about them rather than just churn out things and not be excited about them, because when I am excited about something, you can tell and it comes through, and that's how every YouTuber should do things here on YouTube when they're doing these videos. They should do things when they really like to do it, not because they have to do it. So anyway, let's get on to things. And I know it's been a little while, but we're going to get back into things a little bit here with a new episode. We're going to talk a little about sorcery and mysticism and magic system. This is 3rd edition rules we're looking at. The 3rd edition book right here we're looking at on page 156, talking about magic and mysticism. It goes into a little bit about the history of magic and everything and how it works in the DC universe. And this is just the 3 ebook supplement because there's not really a lot on it in the book other than the powers itself, which we'll get into the section on page 65-66 later on. But for now, there is a book. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention there is a book that was a 2E supplement called Magic that goes into a very in-depth history of magic and how it works and gives you some example of different magical characters and gives you write-outs. But we're not going to talk about that right now. We're just going to talk about 3E rules and how it works. So people of Earth do not really believe in magic regardless of what they've heard or seen. They just really don't believe it. So you have to keep that in mind when making up your character, that most humans don't believe in magic, regardless of having superheroes flying everywhere and all these other things. They believe that, but they don't believe magic. Weird. Now, in the game, you're more than likely going to be playing a sorcerer, or you may be playing something like Constantine, which is more of a ritualist. But sorcerer draws his energy from other dimensions, creating what he needs out of thin air. The Earth dimension was once so rich with magical energies that everybody had some sort of power. So we're talking about like the medieval times, or that time frame area, that basically it depleted all the magic out of the realm to the point that now we have such little amounts of magic in our current timeline. Excuse me. There are various hot zones where magic is like amplified, such as Arkham Asylum, and there's magic poor zones which can result in wild magic, because those areas are generally scientific areas, such as Star Labs. That's like a high scientific areas, which also means that in the hot zone magic areas, the scientific gadgetry kind of doesn't work well either. It's kind of like the hand in hand. Where there's science, magic doesn't want to work. When there's magic, science doesn't want to work. Things like that. You have to realize that, as I said earlier, that most humans are incapable of becoming sorcerers in the truest sense, like Zatanna and her father, who were actually offshoots of a race called Homo Magi, which is basically a half human, half magical person, as it pretty much explains. These are true sorcerers and can wield magic via results by using the energy force from the other dimensions. Now, like I said, there are other types, such as Constantine and Papa Midnight, that only use rituals to produce the magical effects. They have to chant words and everything. Like how Dr. Fate would actually do something while chanting and it would actually work. Well, Constantine would have to actually perform a ritual or do something or burn something or throw his blood down on something to get it to work. True magicians and sorcerers don't have to do that. Anyway, that's basically the gist of how that works. And we'll head over to page 65 now. And we'll talk about the one thing I wanted to point out, because it is rather important when you're playing the game, because under mystical powers you have a bunch of different things to pick from, and it's kind of cool. And they talk about dimension travel, enchantment, exorcism via the capital. And yeah, okay, but then what if you want more to your character, a little bit more depth to your character, a little bit more options? Well, if you're building a magical based character, you're obviously your influence, spirit, aura are all going to be very high. So getting powers under the other areas are really not going to work well for you. You're going to have lower stats in those areas, so you're not really going to be a fighting person, or you're not really going to be, a powers person. So what you can do, they offer you something called Mystic Link, which you pay an additional 10 points on the base cost. So for example, just as is just an example right here, Base cost is 100. You see that? And then base cost is 10. Let's just say we were linking these two. Now, you would add 10 to that, would be 110. But we're not using that because doesn't really work in this situation. Basically, Mystic Link allows a power to function under the mystical elements. So it has to be a physical or mental power. Now, they give the example of Flame Project here. Let me just make sure you can see that. Okay, there we go. The base cost of 10 extra points. Now, we can do that and basically assume that our character has some type of magical fire, but you're linking it to your aura stat overall. But don't get that confused with linking normally. This just allows you to describe the power and have the power in a mystical sense. It's adding it to your mystical stats. It functions the same way as in the description, no matter what, but it's tied to, I want to say, the aura stat if you want to use that. So if you have a high build magician or sorcerer, you're using those particular attributes, it's tied to those attributes. But like I said, Flame Project would be tied to the power that it is supposed to be. So for example, Flame Project here on page 45 is linked to strength, but if you're linking it to mystic, it's going to be linked to aura, but it doesn't link it as far as if the normal linking to an attribute when you use the attribute as the actual number base to go off of when calculating things. It's just linked for mystical reasons, and it ties back to aura in a sense. So it would still act the same way. The same physical attack with AV is equal to the APs of the power. So that's how that is. I just wanted to go over that real quick and get that out there, because I know there's a couple people that were kind of confused about it. Some people that were in my other play group that we talked to, and they were confused about it. And they were saying that you have to take Mystical Link to actually get the mystical powers, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because why would you want to do that? You already have that link to Aura, Influence, and Spirit. You don't need to link it again. But, I mean, maybe it's that way in Blood of Heroes. I don't really know Blood of Heroes at all, because I have the book. I just don't use it. I never really enjoyed that book. Not to say it's a bad book. You can enjoy that book all you want. And play that, great. But I play by the 3E rules. I try to stick to the Meg's way of doing things. And that's what this whole series is about, Megs. Either third, second, or Batman is the ones I usually play. So hopefully this has shown you something and given you something to chew on. Let me know what you think. Give me some comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. Hit the like button and share the video. And up, and away.